Thank you very much. This is Nils Ollquist, welcoming you to. I'm not sure which number in the in the list of calls, but to our latest investor conference call. The primary purpose originally of this call was to discuss the second quarter financials, which you've all been aware of for some time. There's probably not a lot of meat that I can go through in that process, but the real purpose of the call is to bring you up to date as to where we are in the audit, listing, etc., and the administrative matters that we've been discussing for the past few months. Firstly, just briefly with the numbers, our group, our team in Manado in Taiwan continues to work very well, identifying areas of this high yield reef, which we've been working for the past 18 months. We have been test drilling over the last 6 months, I guess, test drilling new areas and putting down shafts, which are bringing up higher quality, still higher quality ore. It's been, as I said, about 18 months we've been exploiting this reef, which is between 5 to 7 grams per ton, as a result of which we had sales which were in terms of production, it was a little bit flat, I guess, and slightly up on the comparable quarter last year. That was mainly due to the fact that we spent a lot of time in the quarter drilling as opposed to extracting. Excuse me. So the next quarter should make up for some of that. However, the net income was a healthy result, up by about 15% at 2.2 million. Excuse me. The net assets of around 35 million. Which provide our balance sheet with a nice structure to move forward to application for listing on NASDAQ and or Amex. And so the strategy that we're following in terms of our the next 12 months, and people have been discussing this, it builds around the completion of the audit, which has been ongoing as everyone very patiently is watching and waiting. As am I. I'm not waiting, but I'm certainly watching. And I was originally scheduled to travel to India this week. However, the auditor is working very hard on reviewing the 2020 to 2022 financial statements that our CFO has prepared after many months of setting up the basic information through Zero on the cloud. So I didn't want to disturb him in that process. So we're pushing very hard, clearly, to get the audit completed as soon as possible, because that, as far as management is concerned, is task number one. But we have no control over that process in terms of timing. The auditor will do what the auditor does, and which is proper. He is working to provide a document which can be accepted by SEC, NASDAQ, and everybody else, and that needs to be a well-crafted document. And so, you know, it is imminent. I can't give you a date, and I won't give you a date because I've made the mistake before about estimating when it could be finished. But I'm just saying that it is very close, and every effort is being made to get it finished as soon as humanly possible. Now, we've had some preliminary discussions with some investment bankers looking at doing a secondary offering for us through the listing process. Part of the listing process would, of course, be that we do an offering of securities in a registration filed with the SEC, I'm sorry, and an application to NASDAQ at the same time. And our attorneys have been drafting that registration statement diligently, and that's getting close to finality as well. So we are moving on every facet of our strategy to get it completed as quickly as possible. It may not be quick enough for some people, but I think ultimately you'll be satisfied with the result. Now,
thank you, Nils. Do you want to walk us a little bit through the financials very briefly to touch base?
Sure. Sales, as I said, the sales increase was relatively small because it was with the focus during the quarter was more on drilling than extracting. But it was nevertheless marginally up on the quarter, the comparable quarter in 2022, to about 4.6 million. A 13% increase in current assets compared with 2022, 17.2% increase in total assets in comparison with last year, 35.7 million, and liabilities down. Gold production decreased by 2.1, which really relates to the comment I made earlier about the focus during the quarter. However, the fluctuation in exchange rate, the US dollar has been quite strong. The Indonesian rupiah was actually strong as well. So there wasn't a lot of impact on the exchange side. We haven't obviously been producing in the States, in North America or Canada. So there is no impact from that side. I think I would like to talk a little bit about the focus following or contemporaneously with the strategy that we're following on the listing and filing process. And that would be to kickstart the North American operations, which we reported on. We made an announcement recently that we were moving into getting ready to produce at McArthur Creek in Alaska. It's the lower hanging fruit, so we think it's probably a good idea to invest. The investment required is less than it would be for Moosehorn, so it's the first, as I said, the first car off or cab off the rank for the North American operations, and it's very important to us. So we'll be looking at raising as much money as we can to finance the development of North America up to production levels as quickly as possible. Hopefully before the end of this year, but at least by the first quarter of next year. We do plan to build the North American side as part of our diversification strategy. We understand that Indonesia is doing well, but a developing country, you know, we would, as we advertise ourselves as being a diversified production platform, so we think that production should come from other parts of our investment portfolio as well. So that's pretty much my comments, I guess, as to where we are and what we're planning on doing. And I'm looking at some questions here. There's some frustration about the audit, and I understand, and I sympathize, but unfortunately it's out of our control. So there's not an awful lot I can say about that. But Bob Jensen indicated that the offering would dilute the company. Well, it's very early days, Bob. So I would say that we would not be doing a dilutive offering in conjunction with a listing, that's for sure. So we would be not looking to impact negatively on our existing shareholders, even though the aspect that we are becoming a listed company would have a major benefit, or would be a major beneficial effect to the price of the company. We would not be looking to dilute in that offering. What are the investor relations plans? Bob has a number of questions today. Investor relations plans are basically to keep, you know, as we have done in the past, communication. That's very simple. My experience with investor relations is that a lot of people promise you the world and don't deliver much. We don't want to make that mistake. So we have our own investor relations strategy, which is internally generated, focused around social media and the traditional outlets. And we have a very good IR company that we've retained out of London, the Pedrosa Group. Been excellent help for us in terms of redistributing press releases and bringing in additional interest in the stock, and also introducing us to the Euronext market in London as a potential for secondary listing of the stock after it's listed on an exchange in the US. So I think that's really the IR strategy. It's internally generated, and I'm comfortable with that. Joe Radcliffe, Joe, hi. Timeline for audit. I think I've addressed that question previously. We are pushing as hard as we can, and it will be imminent, but we can't commit to a date. That's the auditor to decide that issue.
I can see some people, they start raising hands. I would kindly say if it's possible to put your comments or your questions in the Q&A section, so you can actually raise the question, if that's okay. Nils, back to you.
Yes. I think there's an interesting question from John Landon. IR does not respond to emails. Johannes, I'm not sure why that would be.
So our IR contact, it's actually here. If you send your question on this email, we should be able to answer between 1 or 2 business days, if that's okay. So you're more than welcome to send your questions and more than welcome to address them, if that's possible.
And there's a second question or point from Todd Tamalunas. If the IR company was hired to improve investor communication, why don't they answer emails? So I don't know why there has been a gap there, but that's not the intention, and it's not the way we operate. So I'm sure as long as you address your inquiry to IR at Brookmount, Johannes will answer your question.
Just please make sure that you use the email address listed here. So again, I repeat, for everyone who has questions, please send your email to ir@bmxigold.com, and we're more than welcome to answer your questions.
John Landon raised the question, Form 10 filing. John, it would not be a Form 10 if we were to file a registration statement for a secondary offering together with an uplisting application to an exchange. A Form 10 is basically to become a reporting company. It's a non-funded or non-funding registration statement, which our attorney recommended that we don't do, and I tend to agree with it because it's basically most of the work that's in an S1, but you don't get to raise any money. So it would make more sense to do a registration if it's in conjunction with an application to a listed exchange. It's fair to say the audit process has been completed from Mohammed Zaidi, and now it's in the review stage. I can't answer that question. I can tell you that it's very far advanced, and that I don't see there's any more information really that's out there that is required, except back and forth, which is a normal process of audit. So, and it will go to the review stage as soon as the draft has been prepared by the auditor. They won't tell anyone outside of their own group when that will be, but we understand it's imminent.
Again, I repeat, please don't spam the questions. We're going to be here for the next couple of minutes, so please, if it's possible, to structure a question so we can actually answer it. We would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Anonymous attendee. Okay, the share count is written substantially at the beginning of the year. Okay, fine. I think we've addressed. The question of reverse split would come at the time when the application to NASDAQ is made. It wouldn't be before that. So when will the audit be completed? We've discussed that, and we've talked about the registration and so forth. I don't like to indicate timelines because it's all contingent on something over which we have no control. So I would prefer to just say that we are pushing very hard on all fronts. As investors, why should we buy BMXi shares? Well, honestly, Bob, as an investor, I look around at pink sheet companies, and I see companies that are with zero revenue and very little business plan
Let's
and trading.
sorry, Nils. Let's go to another question, if that's okay. Let's stick to.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just my point would be that
Mhm.
it's a self-evident question.
Yeah.
So we have revenue, we have profits, and I think our stock price is doesn't reflect, particularly as some of you have seen the valuation model, which was prepared by research analyst a few months ago. I don't think that the share price reflects what the intrinsic value of the company would be. David, how much revenue do you expect for the North American mines to contribute to the bottom line? Well, that really, how long is a piece of string, David? We will start to invest money this quarter, and we expect that as I said, low-hanging fruits, which we have some surface gold and some shallow depth alluvial gold in McArthur Creek, which can be extracted for pretty low cost. So I would say we could expect a contribution from North America. As I mentioned earlier, I would hope before the end of the year, but at least the first quarter of next year. As to what that contribution will be, it depends how much we invest, and so we will start at a relatively modest level. We'll obviously make some gold, we'll sell it, and then we'll move on. Reverse split possibility, I think I addressed that earlier, John. Okay, all right. Thank you for that, Anonymous. Appreciate your input. Okay, at what price are they sold? I have no idea. When can we expect dilution to stop? There's no additional dilution, as I can tell, apart from share issuances in the normal course. There were some conversions earlier this quarter, and that has ceased. So I think, I wouldn't be focused too much on the dilution side at the moment.
And also, there's a question. People are asking if we're going to upload this video on Twitter or YouTube after. So the video is going to be available on YouTube and also on our IR page, which is bmxigo.com, which is also accessible from our website. And of course, we're going to post a link just for convenience. But in any case, if you have any question or if you need any specific materials and you just want assistance with something, just please email directly ir@bmxi.gold. Thank you.
Todd Tamalunas has also raised the book value Brookmount stock price is disappointing. What do you feel is the underlying issue with the stock prices versus value? I mean, I believe that one of the issues has been that we haven't been a reporting company, and we've been unaudited, so we're alternative reporting, which is always a drag on a stock price, which is why we've been looking to remedy that as quickly as possible, which is why the audit process is taking place. And I think ultimately when we get this value matrix, which we're working on at the moment, once we achieve our goals, the value matrix will change, and you'll see the difference. What is preventing the capital in Indonesia from being repatriated? This would avoid the need to raise money. Well, when we went into Indonesia at the beginning, it was that the funds, the net surplus funds from the operation would stay onshore and be used to develop the operation. This is quite standard with developing countries. China was like that originally, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand to an extent. So it's quite usual. And we are in the process of discussing with our partner, who we're very close to, an alternative strategy for operating the business on a cash basis moving forward. So those discussions are ongoing, and I would hope to have a resolution in the next couple of months. Will this video be uploaded? Yes.
Yeah.
How soon do you foresee McArthur Creek bringing new revenues? I discussed that earlier, so I think we're fairly clear on that. Why is the stock price continually going down? Are you selling stock? No insider stock has been sold at all, period. Investors are losing money in the stock. What do you think the share price will be? And that's a really difficult question to answer, and I'm sure you couldn't answer that yourself. So let's not go any further with that one. The comments on the news release some time ago by the analyst, do you agree with it? Actually, I think he did a pretty good job. He did a deep dive into the financials, and he came up with a number that I think it surprised me, actually, but I don't see any reason why not. If you look at the fundamentals, he's a well-experienced research analyst. He's highly thought of. So I have no reason to doubt that his target is.
But again, if you are interested, you can just read his report and reach your own conclusions. That's okay.
I'm not, unfortunately. This is not a press release, and I'm not giving detailed information because I'm not really in a position to give detailed information. When we give information to our shareholders, it's on the basis that it's to all shareholders, not just to a small number of shareholders. So I think we have to stick to that policy. And I think generalizations, you could make that comment if you wish, but I don't think it's a runaround. I think it's simply trying to convey management's feeling about the strategy, what we're doing, to keep investors informed about our plans and our ambitions. And that's, I think, a normal approach for a management of a public company. Are there any share buybacks process and plans by your company? If I had cash to buy back shares, I would be investing in, which I will. We will be investing in North America, which will be a much more profitable return for us. So we allocate capital where the return is best for our shareholders, and it would right now it would not be in a buyback. Okay, so I guess that's all the questions. So I really appreciate your attendance. I hope we were able to give some update as to what's going on. I know you expect more, but at the end of the day, we've got to restrict ourselves to the sort of discussion that we've had. And I think one day soon I'll be able to tell you that the audit is finished and it's filed, and then this conversation will take a different level. But up to that point, we're really in the hands of the auditor, and so that's it is imminent, and it will happen very shortly. I just can't tell you a date. That's all, because it's not in my control. And that's where we are. We are going to focus on the North American operations. We are raising funds to kick that off sometime in the next month. And I look forward to having a conversation with you again shortly, and to bring you up to date with everything, and hopefully have good news from all of those fronts. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nils. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Again, please send your questions at our IR email address. Again, we're more than welcome to answer. Please allow 1 to 2 business days. Again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.